Okay, the meeting will come to order. Tonight's meeting is, or actually, welcome to the tonight's meeting of the Coffeyville City Commission for Monday, November 7th, 2016. Tonight's invocation will be conducted by Margie Miller of Crossroads Community Church. If you'll please stand for the invocation and remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, we pray this evening on behalf of these commissioners and the other officers of our city. We pray that their meeting may be able to reach consensus and that it may be for the welfare of our city. We pray that your Holy Spirit will rest upon each of them and each of us who are here to observe and to participate. And we ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's consent agenda items are as follows. City Commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, October 26, 2016, and 2016 appropriation ordinance number AO-16-21, the amount of $1,921,585.38, and a resolution number R-16-133, a resolution to approve an access agreement with Sherwin-Williams. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes from October 25th, 2016? Any questions or comments on the appropriation ordinance number AO-16-21? Questions or comments in reference to resolution to approve an access agreement with Sherwin-Williams? I will entertain a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion. Second.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Martin. This is a resolution and a ordinance all into one, so I will just go ahead and poll the entire commission. The mayor votes yes. Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Castler?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Commissioner Bauer?
Aye.
Resolution passes unanimously. Second item on the agenda is a proclamation to declare Saturday, November 12th, 2016 as Buddy Poppy Day in the city of Coffeyville. I'd like for the representative from the VFW Auxiliary to come forward while I present you this proclamation.
That's Charlene Wilkerson. Charlene.
I'm going to stand right here and read this to you, read it out loud. Okay, the proclamation states, whereas the annual sale of Buddy Poppies by the veterans of foreign wars of the United States has been officially recognized and endorsed by governmental leaders since 1922, and whereas the VFW Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans, and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefits of the disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans, and whereas the basic purpose of the annual sale of Buddy Poppies by the veterans of foreign wars is equally reflected in the desire to honor the dead by healing the living. Now, therefore, I, Christopher Williams, Mayor of the City of Coffeyville, Kansas, declare Saturday, November 12, 2016 as Buddy Poppy Day in the City of Coffeyville, and do hereby urge the citizens of this community to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generously to its support through the purchase of Buddy Poppies on the day set aside for this distribution of these symbols of appreciation for the sacrifices of the honored dead. I urge all patriotic citizens to wear a Buddy Poppy as a mute evidence of our gratitude to the men and women of this country who have risked their lives in the defense of the freedoms which we continue to enjoy as American citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There you go. Have a
Okay.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely, address the
I-
commission and the
I
citizens.
just want to encourage all of you to be responsible and vote tomorrow. That's the way you support our veterans and our nation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Charlene.
Tonight, we have several service awards for members of the city staff that have been here for a certain amount of time. And I think we have some items to bestow on them. If, I tell you what, let's just go and read these out. Do we have things for everyone, or?
Everyone that's on this list.
Good. Well, if you guys want to come up and get your items as I read off the list, that'd be great. Marilyn Goodson with Electric Department, 10 years. Toby Hunt, Finance Department. Donna O'Neill, Finance Department. Cody Rexwinkle, Coffeyville Police Department. We'll hold all our applause until the end if we... Deborah Riley, Coffeyville Police Department. Scott Bromley, Public Service. Steve Gilfillan, Coffeyville Police Department.
And these are for 15 years.
Yes, 15 years, Scott Bromley and Steve Gilfillan. Craig Males, Coffeyville Police Department. Kevin Mersberg, Electric Department. Cindy Price, Administration. Stephanie Richardson, Finance Department. Jim Swift, Public Service. Wayne Warren, Wastewater Treatment. The next is for 20 years of service to the city of Coffeyville, Rex Reardon, Coffeyville Fire Department. 25 years with service to the citizens of Coffeyville is Quinn Bromley, Coffeyville Police Department. Danny Gregg, Coffeyville Police Department. Mark Searles, Electric Department. Ken White, Electric Department. James Grimmett, Coffeyville Fire Department. James was 30 years service with the city. With 35 years service with the city is Jim Bradshaw, Public Works. And Ray Robson with the Electric Department. And with 40 years total service to the citizens of Coffeyville is Carlos Walker. I think they're going to make a memorial to you, or a statue or something like that after. I know this went kind of, thank you, hey, appreciate you. I know this went kind of quick, and we didn't do a whole lot of applause, but on behalf of the Coffeyville City Commission, I'd like to congratulate everyone on their several years of service. 10 years is a big feat. As you go down the line, you can't express enough the admiration that this commission and the citizens have for our city staff, because I mean it's the people who come out at night, it's the people who to answer the phones, it's the people who go out and turn your electric back on when it goes off. So every fashion of the city has to work together, and we sincerely appreciate your guys' service to the citizens. Thank you. Our next item on the business will be a Park Advisory Board report conducted by Martha Bobeck and Mike Cordray. They'll present the report. If you guys want to come up to the podium and rearrange it however you'd like to.
I'm Martha Bobeck, and two of our members, Alex Hendricks and Gail Mish, are out of town, and Jason couldn't be here. And I believe that you got a written summary of our report of what we've been doing over the year. And I can go over that with you if you would like, or if you would like to, I can just field questions and comments. Would you like me to hit the points of it, or?
Can you just hit the highlights for the purpose of the meeting?
Okay, well, we started in August of 2015, and that it was the first time for the board, so we spent a good part of the time trying to figure out where the parks fell into the organization of the city, and also to what our role would be with the parks. And we've concentrated on the following areas: to determine the viability of the parks and possible consolidation of the parks, to increase community awareness of the parks, to organize park cleanup days, to add handicap ADA equipment to the current parks, to establish a disc golf course, to repair or replace the tennis courts, and expand the current parks. And it came to our attention that the City Commission had concerns about the viability of the parks, and so we've spent quite a bit of time looking at the parks. And there are 3 parks, or 4 parks that are small. Eldridge Park and Grace Park are in neighborhoods with the least amount of playground equipment and the least less populated neighborhoods. But when we look at the equipment at those parks, all of the equipment works. That at Eldridge Park, 2 of the teeter-totters have broken, just split wood on the seats, but that's easily repaired. And at Eldridge Park, the equipment looks pretty beat up, but it could be painted, but it all works. At Grace Park, that's a little park in the median, and that equipment really works very well, actually. And whenever we've been in the neighborhood, we've seen kids. I've never seen kids actually on those park equipments, but if you look at the mulch around it, the wood chips, they've obviously been used. And I think since the park summary and recommendation of 2014, all of the equipment is bordered with railroad ties and wood chips so that a mower can just go over it, and there shouldn't be any weed eating. So as far as maintenance goes, we don't see that there's a lot of maintenance required. And we don't think that the equipment is suitable to be relocated. It's old, and I don't know that it could be. But we do think it's being used. Harmon Park is also in a less populated area, but it's a nice little park. The equipment's nice. The shelter areas are wonderful. There are 2 tennis courts, and they're just cement surface, but they look in many ways much better than what we have at Stark. They need netting. The basketball courts look good. They have netting on the hooks of those. And we did inquire about relocating the equipment there, and we were given an estimate of about $20,000 to relocate it, so it doesn't move easily. North Park is the highest population of students, according to the graph that we got. And it has been improved since that summary of 2014, so that some of the structures have been removed, some of the cement and things, and they've been kind of relocated. So, but we would like to add more equipment and off-street parking. So we are not comfortable in recommending that we eliminate or consolidate any of these parks because we don't see an advantage to doing it. We don't really see what the purpose is. The children are using it, the equipment works, and mainly the city would still have to maintain the land whether the equipment is there or not. So we really, if we did our pros and cons, we're not comfortable in making that recommendation. We also have worked with increasing community awareness, and we've talked to some organizations. We've talked to some Lions clubs and Boy Scout groups and church groups, and Theta sorority under Lisa Brookover has painted some equipment at one of the playgrounds between the first and second hole at the golf course. And the Noons Lion Club has pledged $500 to replace the windows, help replace the windows at Oak Crest Lodge. And Theta is going to also help with that fundraising of that. We've had, during the park cleanups, we had church youth groups and high school dance team. The Southtown Casino has helped, and they've done things on Roosevelt Drive. So we feel like that this is an area where we can make a difference and that we need to make more of a difference, but that's an area we can work at. We've had 3 park cleanup days, October 18th, 2015, May 1st, 2016, and October 16th, 2016. And we had at least 50 people at each one of these. And I think that everyone enjoyed themselves, and it gives them an ownership in the parks. And also there were people that donated food and made cookies for us, or donated water businesses, and so we felt we had a good turnout for those. We have, at this time, we want to add handicap ADA equipment to the parks. We have no ADA equipment out there right now. And it's our goal to put a handicap swing for small children and a wheelchair swing at Walter Johnson Park, LeClaire Park, and Feaster Park. And we have now applied for a grant through the Coffeyville Foundation. It costs about $2,000 a set, or maybe a little bit less. And the City Commission has given the Park Advisory Board a $5,000 a year budget. So we figure with that money, with what we can get from the grant, that we should be able to have that equipment in place by spring, early spring. We've also been working toward getting a disc golf course. The course right now is out behind the Aviation Museum, and it's not a full course, and the condition of the land is not good to make the land, it's unplayable. So we want to have a new disc golf course. And Jared Schicky of the CCC soccer team has volunteered his team members to help design the course for us and help put it in. But because his soccer season is in the fall, he's asked that we wait until after the semester, that he will help us. And they designed the course in Independence Junior College. And we are thinking at this point that Walter Johnson Park would be a good place, that it has the terrain, and we'd like to have at least 5 acres. And Mr. Francis is going to get an aerial map of the area to him so they can do some early planning. And again, we'll get $5,000 next year, so that with the City Rec has 5 complete baskets and a partial basket for us. And if the soccer team helps us, and if we can get some help maybe from the city employees, then we think we can have that up and running by spring also. We spent a lot of time worrying about the tennis courts, which are in bad shape, but it's expensive, and so we've mainly been able to just talk to other cities and find out what contractors they've used. And Mr. Francis has communicated with City Rec and USD 445, and Gail has talked a lot with the Coffeyville Foundation in establishing some kind of a special pass-through fund that people can donate to so that we can try to get enough money for that. So as a board, we feel that a tennis court's important, but we mainly can just be encouragers for that. So we're hoping that you will take that into consideration, that the tennis court should be a priority. And we also want to expand our current parks that we have, because there's always coming up with newer equipment and better ground covers. And if you're ever out at the parks on the weekend, they're full of kids, and kids play with them all the time. And so we would always want to make those better. And our first priority would be to establish a playground at LeClaire. And if we have the ADA equipment there in the spring, then we'd like to add to that. And we were thinking over close to the shelter, close to Stark, because we thought maybe parents could still keep an eye as they walked. So that's, and we'd also like to add equipment to North Park, because that is such a highly populated area. And there's just 2 swing sets and a slide there right now. So we know that finances are hard, and we do appreciate all the work that you've put and money that you put into the aquatic center. That's part of our park system. But right now, the parks fall under the parks of the just the city works, I guess, and so they have a lot of things that they're taking care of, and the parks kind of fall down to the bottom. So we would like that you would consider having a designated person that's in charge and accountable for the maintenance and improvements of the parks, and then also that we would have our own line item budget so that we can have funds allocated for the parks. So we feel like we've had a productive year, and we feel like we have a lot farther that we can go, but we thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Martha. Do you guys have any
Well-
questions?
A very good report, a little
Thank
bit
you.
more than the highlights. Sounds
That's
like
right.
you pretty well covered it, which is good.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Do we don't have anybody that, Martha said something about assigning somebody that's in charge of the parks. Do we not have that? Did you discover we didn't have that, or do we not have that?
Well, we don't have a parks director or something per se. The parks falls underneath Public Works, and they're kind of encompassed with all our green
I
spaces,
see.
actually.
Is this thing on? Okay.
Sounds like it.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we'll have to think about that a little more. Okay, thank you, Martha. What's our next step in this, anyway?
In regards to,
Is this the end, or do the
No,
board?
we're on
they
for
will-
4 years.
Okay,
yeah, they will continue.
so they'll report back again, maybe, if we ask them to. We need to think about maybe some funding. Some of this is there anything else to say about it?
And you know, if you have questions about their work, I mean,
I don't have
now would be
any more, no.
appropriate time for that, but
I just
otherwise
wanted-
it'll be, right now, business as usual. And
Okay.
we'll continue to work through some of these projects that they're looking at, and I think we just go on from there.
Mike,
Go ahead.
did you have something?
Well, one thing I'd like to add, we know that the parks fall under the Public Works, and Jim Bradshaw has many things that he's needing to do, take care of. It seems like that the money sometimes is not always going towards parks to make improvements. If we could find some way, without asking for any increases, but yet within the Public Works budget, designate, earmark some money that yearly could go to improvements that in time it will make a difference.
I think that's what I was looking for. Thank you, Mike. Something like that, maybe, if we have it. Okay, well, thanks,
Thank you.
Mike and Martha.
I would like to see more updates, like every 6 months, something like that, just because I felt it's been a year and stuff. I thought one of the reasons we put the board together was to consolidate some places, and the recommendation is to not do that now.
Their thought is that we can consolidate equipment or remove equipment from some of the parks, but that doesn't remove the burden of taking care of the land that we own unless we were to sell off the actual acreage of the parks we consolidate. We haven't gained anything.
Okay. I've spoken with the past, and I feel that Grace is kind of a liability, and it's not that much acreage anyway. I feel that one needs to be at least consolidated, and whatever needs to be done. That's my personal opinion. I don't know what everybody else feels, but I'd
Well,
like
and
to see
that,
some movement on something.
that was one that they had looked at a lot because it's a concern being in the median and the safety issue. I guess they weighed a little bit against doing anything with it because that's the only thing in that area. And if
Isn't that the one on South End?
yes, correct.
Across from the-
It's the one that's in the median.
Yeah, it's in
But
the
you know,
median.
I'll bet that park has been there 60 years, 50 years, and I would venture that there's never been a safety issue there. Actually, there's very little traffic on those streets, and, you know, we said like the one at Sycamore Park, that little area that has no cut-in parking, and they have the soccer practice, and people are parked all up and down First Street. You know, those, in comparison, that's almost a bigger safety concern than the Little Grace Park. I mean, I can understand where, if you look and say, oh, well, it's in the middle of a median, and that's a safety feature, but in reality, we don't know that it is. You know, that was kind of how we looked at it.
Can I add, Martha went to the school and they did a logistics study of, since the 2007 flood, where the kids have moved to. You've lost a lot from the east side and the south part of town, and a lot of them have concentrated in the central, near North Park, where the majority of the kids are at now that are going to the schools, the way that they were able to look at it. It was very interesting the way that, but anyway, the Grace Park, we didn't know for sure by trying to, say, consolidate it or do away with it, if it's a benefit for the fact of what you're going to do with the land. Can we legally do that? Because if it's designated as a park, is it city-owned land, or how it goes? So we didn't see much of a benefit to kind of, but we thinking, concentrating our efforts on most of the parks to the bigger, Walter Johnson, Feaster, and LeClaire, and then trying to add and do what we can with those to.
The equipment at Grace Park, while it works well, the cost to move it, to relocate it to maybe something that would be a safer area, the cost would outweigh the benefit of moving that equipment. If you're going to do away with that equipment, then you would want to look to purchase new equipment. I think the thought was that, yes, there is the perception of a safety issue, but as far as something for children in that area, there are no other options. So the thought was that because it has been there for decades, like Martha alluded to, without an incident, that the recommendation would be to leave it. Now, God forbid that a child be hurt there. And, you know, if we could do something to prevent that, you know, we should, but.
Kendall, when we figure up cost to move, do we figure up man hours, equipment hours? What does that go into? Because the actual cost to move it, I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I seen one in here where it said it cost $20,000 to move it.
That was the estimate that was put together to move the equipment at Harmon Park, I believe. And I'm gonna defer to Jim.
The tennis court, I think.
Upright and concrete, only there was no labor.
So do you count labor and equipment
No.
and all that when these projects? Okay.
Anytime you move a piece of park equipment, you've got to replace the upright. You cannot reuse the upright that's actually in the concrete ground. You've got to basically dismantle it and purchase new uprights. And at Harmon, that was new uprights and concrete only to relocate that equipment.
That seems quite pricey.
While we're talking about Grace, I spoke earlier that I thought it should be kept for these reasons, but I didn't know. One thing I did ask back when was, why would we want to move Grace Park? Why? I mean, if there was a reason why, I'd like to know why. That was one question. And question number 2 was, did you do any, you guys have done a lot, and I don't expect the answer to be yes to this question, but did you do anything as far as talking to some of the neighbors that had kids to see if they wanted it left there? Well,
The only thing I did was that I did, when I helped enroll for the Salvation Army backpacks, and if people came through that had an address in that area, I would ask them if they used the parks, and they would say yes. That's all I did, and that was just 2 or 3 families that I talked to.
so there was some people using it.
Well, yeah.
When you saw some of the, Martha, when you saw the chips and some things that were worn, was it worn down there?
Oh, yes, at Grace,
Okay,
definitely.
okay.
Uh-huh. I would say
Okay.
Grace is used more than, and the equipment there is better than
Okay.
it is at Eldridge Park.
Okay,
And there's
good.
more of it.
That's good, thank you. One thing I want to say, when you come around that corner and you see that equipment, that playground equipment, what do you do?
Slow down.
What do you do, Paul? That's what I thought. I never thought it would be a safety issue.
And I
It's
think,
kind
and
of a
I
big
think
sign,
what,
kids that play,
I think part of our problem was we never could come up with a good why,
Right,
of
right.
why should we,
Well,
even though it's not great, why should we
Did
take it
you
away?
have anything on that question? Is it just to save money, or?
Are you talking to me?
I just, in my opinion, I just thought one of the reasons we wanted to do this in the first place was to at least consolidate some. I'd like to see us honestly work with the subdivision across the street and see if we can't get some things on that side. Maybe if that's an approach we want to take,
So-
that way that subdivision can have something and they don't have to cross the street.
So here's a question that I have. How much money do we spend a year on parks?
I don't know that we've done a good job of tracking it. I know we are now doing a better job of tracking money that goes towards repairs, and I would say that's relatively new as far as the tracking of the expenditures.
This year, we are tracking all of our expenses in the park. In the past, what we've tracked has been the wood chips that we put in around the material, and we average anywhere between 15 and 18,000 a year just in the wood chips that go underneath the playground equipment. Depending on how many loads we get.
So 18,000 a year. And
15 to 18, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go with the high end. On the spread over, how many parks do we have in the city of Coffeyville?
12 or 13? 13?
But not all of them have playground
No.
equipment. Like
Yeah.
Cartwright.
4 or 5.
Park doesn't have any, but anything that's got a swing or anything has border with wood chips underneath.
So that's how much per park?
Off the top of my head, I can't. About $3,000 a park, probably.
So roughly, just,
3.
we can account for $3,000 a year spending on, and
On
probably
mulch.
not even that much, because some of that's gonna go to other maintenance of parks. That's
It's not a whole lot.
that's not a whole lot of money. And it's spread out over, that's not a whole lot of money, and it's spread out over a whole lot of places. So therefore, that's where you're seeing the decline of our parks. I
But
mean,
but that's literally only in mulch. That doesn't
but that's the
account.
only thing that you can tell me, because
Well,
because no one's ever tracked it any other
Well, I can
time.
tell you that it would take several people to maintain 13 parks, and at at a median average wage of like 30,000, you know, it wouldn't take very long to start adding up significantly just for manpower.
Guess
But
not.
you can, but no one can tell us that number because
I understand what you're trying to get at. This whole deal started, I kind of wanted to know if we were wasting our time kicking the can, and I believe we're maybe kicking a little can here. But after what you've said, I see your point. You get rid of the playground equipment and you mow the grass, then it's just, why'd you get rid of my swing? I get it. It's not really the answer I thought you was going to come back with, but I understand it, and I accept it, and I tend to agree with you.
Thank you.
Cost prohibitive just to really move it to enhance one of the other parks.
I mean, if there's a
You know,
kid
just-
swinging on it and we're mowing it anyway, I guess, heck, let the kid keep swinging. But to Chris's point, I understand there's more spent in there than that. But we're only tracking 3,000 a park, and that's not all the parks. I guess what I'd like to see going forward is some kind of a plan, other than we're just going to mulch it. I know we don't have a great deal of money, but surely we can come up with something to say this is our down the road, and maybe try to find a little bit of budget that they can work with. We got one heck of a park out there right as you come into town, and there's an old wore-out train and some swings under the trees.
And that was the consensus we came up with, that there was a little bit to work with that was dedicated to go that, then you could see some improvement. And two, I'd like to state that all the maintenance that we've seen done on has been good. I mean, what we see in the parks, they've been kept, you know, clean, nice, good. And it's just not that anything has been dedicated to say, let's improve one section of this park at a
Yeah,
time.
there's nothing to build on.
It's
is
in,
there?
nothing to build with, it's just in the overall, within the Public Works Department, which is,
Kendall, do you still attend their meetings?
Yes.
Yes.
at one
Just-
time didn't we have a park superintendent?
Yeah, what was his name? Roy? Wasn't that it, years ago?
We used to have a park caretaker at Eastern Park.
Yeah,
And we used to have a park caretaker at Lower Johnson Park.
that's right.
Both them positions were eliminated.
Yeah. Is there any way that when you guys are at your next meeting, you can start the conversation of how much a responsible budget would be? You know, I'm not talking like Tulsa or Owasso, I'm talking Coffeyville. But at the same point,
kept in perspective, you know.
if we don't do something eventually, we're going to have a whole bunch of little Grace Parks here that all we're doing is changing wood chips.
That's the point we wanted to bring out.
Yeah, we appreciate
They
that.
make a rubber chip that you don't have to replace as much. Did you think about that, or did anybody?
There's all kinds of new ground surfaces now.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
We thought wood chips were wood chips, but they're not. We've learned from Mr. Bradshaw that they have to be a certified, they're round ground and safe for the kids to be on. I thought maybe somebody from the tree could bring us out chips, but it doesn't work that way.
I see. Bugs and everything else. Well, appreciate you guys' help.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
When do you guys meet again?
We meet
December-
monthly.
Monthly.
Obviously, you guys have done a lot of work. Please pass that on, that we recognize that.
Thank
The
you.
city appreciates you.
Thank you.
New business, resolution number R-16-134, resolution executing an agreement with Kansas Department of Transportation for the 2018 geographic improvement project at 11th and Willow. I said geometric, mispronounced that, geometric improvement project. Superintendent Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. This agreement is the agreement for the geometric improvement at 11th and Willow that was selected to be fiscal year 2018 for KDOT fiscal year. It's due to be let out next December. We've discussed it on 2 or 3 different occasions. This is to formalize the actual KDOT agreement. It's a 90-10 grant of KDOT up to $1 million of KDOT funds to rebuild that intersection, widen it to for turn lanes to the south. That is the detour route for trucks anytime the highway is closed down going south on Willow. Be happy to answer any questions.
Discussion on this?
Well, it's a big intersection. That's Long John Silver's right there, right?
Long John Silver's, there's a vacant lot on one end of the college, and then
So what's the improvement?
they're doing some widening, putting in left turn lanes on the highway,
Okay.
widening the turning radiuses
Okay.
going on to Willow heading south,
Okay,
as well as the one going north. This is due to, again, that is the designated truck route anytime the tracks are closed for rail maintenance, that section between, that highway south on Walnut, that's how they have to get around.
so will that make it 5 lanes instead of 4?
It'll make it 5 lanes on the highway, yes.
Okay. 90-10 split, where's the other 10 come from?
The transportation, sales tax, and the transportation budget.
It's kind of, I guess it's kind of a no-brainer. Can you talk about it, Kendall, or somebody? Obviously,
Yeah, absolutely. I would call it a no-brainer.
okay.
And especially with KDOT funds being cut substantially every year, we probably need to jump in on why there's still
That's
funds
what I was
available.
wondering about, okay? Good.
And these have been, I want to say for lack of a better word, protected. That was our first concern when we started meeting with engineers, knowing that funds were being taken
Right.
from KDOT, that whether or not those would exist when the time came, and we've been assured that those are in a protected fund, for lack of a better word.
Thank you.
Additional discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Bauer. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Resolution number R-16-135, a resolution executing construction contract with RIC Construction for repairs on the Overlook Bridge. Thomas Osborne will make comments, engineering superintendent.
Thank you again. This is for the bridge rail repair and replacement on the bridge on Overlook north of First Street. Bids were open on October 13th. We had 3 bids come in. RIC Construction was a low bid with $127,076.30. I have included the recommendation by the engineers for approval of stating that these are good numbers for the cost of the construction. There was a little concern. We did have one bid that was significantly higher, but we also had another local contractor that was right in line. So again, this is for that bridge rail that was taken off by a car earlier, let's see, it was June 16th. We have been in contact with both the vehicle driver's insurance and our own insurance, been given claim numbers and adjusters. So
Discussion on this item?
Nope. Do we have any idea when we'll know something from the insurance on reimbursement?
I haven't heard anything. I don't know. Stephanie's been working with our insurance providers.
Are they gonna pay all that?
We're just wanting to know, Thomas, is it covered? Are they paying it?
We honestly, at this point, we don't
Yeah.
know the limit to what level they will cover. They have given us a letter. The vehicle owner's insurance has given us a letter telling us what the maximum of their claim allowance is. Then we have turned it into our insurance, and it, from what I heard today, Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but our insurance will be working with the vehicle owner's insurance to try to settle out who pays. The reason we're bringing it forward today, one is so that we can start getting the repairs made.
especially moving into winter. So
Exactly. But I guess it boils down to the fact that the repairs have to be made, and we're going to have to figure out how we get it paid for. But we do know that insurance is liable for at least partial payment, and we're counting on our insurance carrier to fight on our behalf to get the majority of it paid.
Additional discussion?
And one other thing to note, this does replace both sides of the bridge rail. So it's not just the one that was peeled off.
But it only damaged one side.
They took off one side, but due to traffic regulations and how that works, a substantially improved bridge rail on one side can cause a vehicle to bounce off, and then they go straight into the other guardrail. So
It requires us
to go ahead and
to make the improvements to the other side so that they're identical. We can't just fix the one side of the bridge.
It's been a long time since that bridge has even been touched, right? So, I mean, this is an upgrade that is needed.
I don't know when the last maintenance to the bridge would have occurred, but
I know there's been some work on shoring up the piers underneath for backfill, and whenever water comes rushing through, it kind of scours out, replacing that. But for the past several years, I don't know if anything major's gone on. I do know we had about a year ago a complete bridge inspection. Everything was fine. So.
Additional discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution R-16-135.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Castler and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-16-135. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes by unanimous decision.
Hold on a second, Mayor. Kendall, I'm getting told the picture is horrible and there's a humming sound. I don't know if you can fix it, but that's about passing along.
Resolution number R-16-136, a resolution to execute a work authorization with Al Gore Martin and Associates for design and construction and inspection of the Overlook Bridge. Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Thank you again, Mayor and Commissioners. There's kind of two parts to this one. When the incident happened, we immediately called one of our on-call engineering service agreements, got a quote, said get to work to try to get this. So this kind of formalizes what they've already done, including a couple extra things for the contract documents and stuff as far as the design side. And then the inspection side as well. This is the cost to have them do the inspection on site during the bridge repair on the road replacement. Be happy to answer any questions.
Discussion on this item.
Nope.
Seeing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Commissioner Bauer, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying no. The ayes have it. Motion carries by unanimous decision.
Thank you.
Resolution number 16-137, a resolution to execute a change order number 1 to the construction contract with Bryan & Bryant Construction for the 9th Street Improvement Project. Public Works Director Chuck Shively will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a final quantity change order for the street portion, street, curb and gutter, and handicap access ramps portion of the 9th Street projects. It was awarded based on unit prices bid times the estimated quantities to be installed. This change order modifies the final price to reflect unit prices bid times the actual quantities to be installed, or that were installed. Some quantities increased, some decreased, and some remained the same. The plan was to mill off the asphalt down to the original brick street, then make the necessary repairs to the brick street and use it as the base for the new asphalt street.
When the asphalt was removed from the brick by milling, the condition of the brick street below the asphalt was found to be significantly worse than expected. Nearly all of the quantity increases for this project were caused by the deteriorated condition of that brick street. Item number 9 was for additional asphalt for pre-leveling of the old brick street. Item 11 was for full-depth concrete patching of the old brick street so that it could be used as the base. And those 2 repair items in the numerous locations throughout the length of the project amounted to a $74,786 increase. The condition of the old brick street was especially bad at the 9th and Gillum intersection. After the asphalt was removed from the brick and the 2 water mains were replaced, the condition of the intersection was found to be a totally deteriorated concrete base, which allowed water to destroy the sub-base, resulting in no structural strength remaining to support the asphalt street. So we had our engineer estimate the costs that we were facing to over-excavate the unsuitable base, backfill with rock, and compact to create an acceptable structural base for the asphalt intersection, then build the new intersection on that base. We also requested an estimate to replace the intersection with full-depth concrete. Both estimates were based on the unit prices bid by the contractor in the existing contract. The cost for the concrete intersection was estimated to be less than the asphalt intersection. So items 5, 6, 7, 10, and 14 are the additional costs to rework the base and construct a full concrete intersections. Those cost increases amount to $53,206 increase. Throughout the construction, we worked with our engineer to find any possible opportunities to reduce costs. We did come up with items 12, 16, 19, 20, 24, and 25 that are reductions, and they combine for a total reduction of $27,805. All of the quantity changes and the corresponding costs are detailed on the proposed change order 1 and change order summary, which I included with my staff report. The original contract was awarded in the total amount of $755,407.50. With this proposed change order, the final adjusted contract amount would be $856,177.50. I recommend that you approve the resolution authorizing execution of change order 1 to the construction contract with Bryant & Bryant Construction for street improvements on 9th Street from Camden Street to Hall Street. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Discussion on this item.
No.
I'll entertain a motion and a second on 16-137.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion is made by Commissioner Taylor. The motion was seconded by Commissioner Martin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying no. Motion
Thank you.
carries, unanimous decision.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you. Resolution number R-16-138, resolution to purchase property insurance coverage for the power generation facility number 2. Finance Director Stephanie Richardson will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, this item is for adding the new equipment at the new generation plant to our existing insurance policy that we have through Chubb Insurance. We did obtain builder's risk coverage at the beginning of the project, and Chubb has agreed to extend that policy, which was set to expire October 1st of this year. They've extended it through November 30th. As we've gotten nearer to the completion of the project, we contacted Coffville Insurance, which is our agent on the power plant property, to come back with quotes on adding this new equipment to the policy. And what they returned was what is in your packet, 2 different options through Chubb Insurance. There's a $250,000 deductible with a premium of $125,000 and a deductible of $500,000 with a premium of $110,000. Staff is recommending that we approve the coverage with the $250,000 deductible, which is a $125,000 premium to add this equipment to our current policy, which will expire September 1st of 2017. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer questions related to that.
Question of the day is, does this coverage include earthquake damage?
It includes up to $10 million of coverage.
Okay.
$50,000 deductible on the earthquake coverage.
Additional discussion on this item?
I mean, staff's looked it over pretty good. That's Gene and Mike and whoever, okay. I have no more questions.
I'll entertain a motion and a second on this item, 16-138.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-16-138. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed signify by saying no. The ayes carry the motion by unanimous decision. That concludes our business for this evening. Next item on the agenda is City Manager's Report. Kendall Francis will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, first I'd like reference to our service award. I thought it'd be important to point out that we had a in reference to the service awards tonight, I thought it'd be important to point out that we had a combined 430 years of service among the people that were recognized tonight. So that I thought that was pretty impressive when you start adding up all the years of service. So that I think that just shows the quality of knowledge and quantity of knowledge that our staff holds. And so I just thought it was interesting and worth noting. I'd like to, as we're talking about staff and things, I'd like to first say thank you to everyone who attended the groundbreaking. Obviously, we had a tremendous turnout, and I would estimate somewhere 200 people probably. I think is a pretty good estimate. So you can see there's excitement among the community for that project to continue. But it also took a lot of work to put that groundbreaking together, so I just want to take an opportunity to first say thank you to Cindy. I pretty much turned the planning over to her and let her run with it. But then I'd also like to say thank you to Jim Bradshaw and the public service. He and his staff did a tremendous job from erecting the sign to getting the site prepped and organized for the event. The electric department with providing the temporary electric, and Pete Olson for helping out with the sound system. So it really was a total citywide effort. But just wanted to make to say that thanks for that effort. Just a couple of items of note. We had spoke about utilizing some acreage at the airport for a laydown yard for wind turbines. There will be a representative from BNSF will be here tomorrow to meet with Chuck Shively and myself to discuss maybe moving that forward. So once we know a little bit more, I'll be able to report on that. The civil support team will be here. That's the National Guard team from Topeka. They will be here the week of the 14th to the 18th. They'll be training with the fire department and be doing some hazmat scenarios with our fire department. That's typically a yearly training. New generation facility. Emissions testing began today. KDHE here to test the emissions from the engines, and I understand that our schedule was to be from today through Saturday, essentially 2 days per unit. But there were some hiccups in today's testing. The the company that does the actual emissions testing was having some difficulties today with their equipment. So it looks like instead of running 6 hours today, we're going to try to double up and do 12 hours tomorrow to get back on schedule for that. However, simultaneously, we're doing operator training that Wärtsilä is providing. We're going to have about 2 weeks. We have all our operators there at the facility learning to operate the new equipment, the new units. So while we're doing emissions testing, we're doubling up and doing operator training as well. Just a reminder, Friday is Veterans Day, and so city offices will be closed. And get out and vote tomorrow. So if I would entertain questions. That's all I really have for a report.
Any questions for the city manager?
No questions, but a comment. The groundbreaking was a really nice event. I know a lot of work goes into those things, and putting out the carpet, the signs, getting everybody together. It was nice to see the Crossland people there and all the city staff. It really was a nice event.
Absolutely.
I think I talked to Cindy, and she made up 120 of the pamphlets, and we had 200 show up. It was a surprise to everybody, a nice day. So, thank you. That's all I have.
Next item on the agenda is comments from the public. Public is free to comment on items not listed on the agenda. Please address your comments to the commission as a body, and be mindful of others who may also wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes. We also ask that if you come forward and speak, that you give us your name and address. That way we know who we're talking to.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City staff. My name's Mervyn Louis Hummel, 1315 Stark, Coffeyville. I have been involved in a couple things with the city, and I wanted to discuss them with you or bring it up to you. First thing I'd like to say is I appreciate you guys' time. I know it's kind of know what your job's like. It's not always fun. You hear a lot of negative things, and sometimes even are bullied. But what I wanted to talk about is the last 2 summers, I've had the opportunity to babysit my 8-year-old grandson. The highlight of his week here is going up to the swimming pool. And I'd have to really commend the staff, the management. It's always clean. The staff's always nice. The lifeguards are always friendly with the young kids. So it's a real good benefit for the community. You was talking about parks a little while ago. This is part of the lifestyles of the community, so they're very important. The other thing is, now I'm retired, I have a little time to play golf, and a little of the history in the golf course. Years ago, we had a real good superintendent. The golf course was growing. We seen people from out of town, and it was doing well. Well, unfortunately, we decided that we couldn't afford that superintendent. Ever since then, for many years, we've had issues with helping the clubhouse, with superintendents, or whatever, and it's not been doing well. And it's pretty simple. It's like any other business, you know. If you don't have a commodity, they won't come. In the last 4 or 5 years, we've been very fortunate. The staff up there has done an excellent job. The course is as good as many around, and we're starting to see outside people come. My point is, I think the city of Coffeyville is at a time in the golf course's life, a decision is going to have to be made. It's like any other business. If you want it to stay status quo, that's what it's going to do. And it hasn't made money, I'm aware of that. But if you invest some more in it, where it's at now, it's very possible with a good manager of the clubhouse and the superintendent you got and the management, it could not only break even, but make money. It's starting to do a lot better than it used to. We're seeing more people, And the people I talk to out there from Bartlesville, Fredonia, and Neodesha love it. And that's a big deal. Again, it's a lifestyle of the community. I know there's a lot of discussion about affording it and everything else, but these are the things that do bring people to the community. But I just wanted to tell you a couple attaboys, excellent jobs, and thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hummel.
Thanks, Louis.
Anyone else wish to address the commission this evening? Okay, seeing none.
I want to say, I guess I could go up to the podium. I'm really speaking for Taylor Crane. I just want to make an announcement that we've got our Veterans Day lunch. We're raising the flags at 11:30, and I wanted to mention something about that. And veterans are welcome. I want to. That's this coming Friday, 11:30. Thank you. Also, city staff has been invited, and I'm sure if anybody wanted to come, you'd be welcome. We are trying to RSVP. I think I said all this last time. Thank you.
Comments from the commissioners or staff? Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions?
I have a few things.
Mr. Commissioner Castle.
I was told by some people tonight that on the city website, it does not have that the election is here, and instead says next door. Okay, maybe people are reading it wrong. I don't know. I just wanted to pass that along. Right now, it says it on the website. Does it say it on Channel 13?
That voting is here at the Senior Citizen Center, or it says that it's next door at City Hall still?
It says it's next.
Okay.
Over here is what I'm saying. Over the 502.
502.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
seriously, where it used to be, they're saying on the website it says it's still over there. Okay, I didn't know. Second of all, on a personal note, the Boys and Girls Club has started what we call a community cupboard. It is right next door. Outside of the doors, it is a pantry for those who are in need of food. We are trying to keep it well stocked, and also people being able to come up and get it whenever they need. We're looking for non-perishable items and baby items as well, diapers and stuff like that. We like to get this started. We have some goals of some future later on doing some stuff, but this is the start of something that I think will help the community.
Anything about 502, this is senior citizens.
Okay. He just answered my question.
Any additional questions or comments from commissioners? I have a couple questions I'd like to address that's not on the agenda. First of all, where are we on our application for grant funding for the fire unit?
We have not heard back from FEMA.
Okay. Do we have a date or any time frame of when we will hear back?
To my knowledge, no, we hadn't.
Okay, second
Chief
question.
Rosky?
I emailed Hal today. Hal's he's our representative from FEMA to see what's going on because I think they're off that one.
Okay. Second thing is, where are we at with the safe routes to school?
We have gotten all the okays to move forward with that. I know Chuck Shively's been in contact, or at least attempting to contact USD 445. A lot of the work that will take place initially will be on their end as far as surveying the students as to their means of transportation to school, who walks, who rides the bikes, those types of things. A lot of survey data that will be, the onus will be on the school to provide that information.
So we're still moving forward.
Absolutely.
Second thing is something else I wanted to bring up. What intentions do we have for this building over here at 7th and Walnut, the former gas station? Does the city have any intentions to use that?
To my knowledge, right now, we don't have a plan for what we would do with that building.
Okay. Is the commission interested in selling that?
If it will sell.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what before I said, yeah, I mean.
Okay. So we'd be open to proposals to purchase that building.
Okay.
Yeah, what about environmental issues? That's something we gotta think about. There has been some issues there, I think. I
Well,
don't know.
what, if someone were willing to buy that building with some environmental issues, I would think that it would be,
That's their issue.
obviously, that's something you disclose during the purchase of the building.
Right,
But we're
we're
not
not talking
buying,
about
we're not buying it, we're selling it.
right. And we've got pockets, so we have to think about all that. I know it's been talked about in the past, so, it's no big secret or anything.
And I don't want to get into that comment, but anyway.
Any property in the world anymore has that. We just gotta talk about it, probably before we talk about selling it, okay? So.
Okay, well, I think that,
Enough said.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. That's all I have.
Back to Bryant, I just kind of thought about this. With the extra 100,000, where does that money come from for the street improvement to Bryant and Bryant?
From the transportation sales tax.
Transportation sales tax, okay. So that's all good, you think?
Yes,
Okay,
the funds are available.
okay, good. Thank you.
When is our next meeting with the joint meeting with the city, county?
That may be a little bit in limbo. It's scheduled to be next Monday, the 14th. I received some emails today. They had tried to move it to the 15th, and it was moved back, and then there were some people who responded that they weren't available. So we were trying to get a consensus whether to keep it on the 14th. That was my vote in the thing, was to keep it on the 14th. So that's a non-answer, but it's scheduled for the 14th.
Okay. In our last budget, our funding for the Montgomery County Action Council, what was our funding limit for that organization?
15,000. Well, let me clarify. When you say the last budget, are you talking the 2017?
The coming up budget,
2017?
yeah.
We budgeted 15,000.
What's 2014 amount?
2014, I believe is 25,000. I don't know when the switch was made. I know 2015 was 25,000.
I believe it was 15 because we lost a business and.
Okay, so then that would have been the year that it was increased. 2015 and 2016 were in the amounts of 25,000
The increase, I think, was in reaction to
to the closings.
Yeah.
Now, our actual agreement with them ended in 2015, December of 2015. There was no agreement for this year.
We just budgeted it.
Well, that payment predates,
When are they
me.
scheduled to come give us our annual presentation? Do we have a
To my knowledge, they're not scheduled.
okay, well, let's,
Now, they are searching for a full-time director, and now it's my understanding that I think it was possibly today that they were to be interviewing some candidates.
I'd like to discuss this further about the Montgomery County Action Council, the funding and their services that they provide, and et cetera. So I would like to have that put on a future agenda.
Okay. Like the next agenda, or
Well,
We might want to wait till they get somebody hired,
well,
because we all know, we were all at the meeting the other night.
I think that
I said we all, three of us.
I think that they have a board that is, I mean, they can come represent them, at least give us some type of idea of what they're.
and they still have the interim of Tom
Right.
Simpson. Tom Simpson, excuse me.
I'd just like to discuss that further, and I don't think it's appropriate that we discuss it this evening without it being on the agenda and without them being able to participate in that discussion. So yes, I'd like to have it on a future agenda. If you guys don't have an objection to that, I'd like to have it on. I know 2 weeks is kind of a push to get something on there, so perhaps the first.
Meeting in December?
Yes. Does there anyone have any objection to that?
I think it's a great idea, Mayor.
Thank you.
But I'd give them the option 2 weeks or 4 weeks, as soon as they can.
Is
They
there,
are, we all know they're a little unorganized right now, so, and we need them, so.
is there anything that
Reach out to them if you would.
staff can be prepared with?
Bring a history of our funding to that organization, and a history of work up a cost benefit type of scenario.
Did you bring something that shows what they've actually done? I mean, they surely have the resume, right?
A report.
Request that they come with something?
Yeah, I mean,
They-
they're selling themselves, so.
And I know that perhaps, I don't remember the timing, but in the past, they've come and made a presentation to the commission, and it seems like you were here, but perhaps not. But they bring all kinds of pie charts and other information that's pertinent to what their activities are. I just like to have a look at those to refresh my memory and to kind of get a better grasp on what we're spending our money on. I don't have anything further. Commissioners?
I've got a question for Paul. Only Paul, with all due respect, did you know your socks matched your tie tonight? I did. Pretty good. I just noticed it. Pretty good.
Probably gonna need to get the camera to pan down there so they can see that.
If there's nothing further, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'd like to have an executive session just for about 10 minutes.
Okay, we're going to have an executive session to cover what?
Attorney-client privilege.
Attorney-client privilege not to exceed
And
10 minutes after a
5-minute break.
5-minute break. That would put us into executive session at approximately 7:53, not to exceed 8:03. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?